This conference
Thank
will
you.
now be recorded.
All right, welcome everybody to this meeting of the Montachusett Metropolitan Planning Organization. Go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start with our first item, which is introductions. I'll turn it over to, I think, Brian, are you gonna read the roll?
Yeah, typically I'll call out the signatories that I see on screen. If I miss anyone, please let me know. And I'll try to keep track of people as they come on board as well. From Mass DOT, representing Secretary and CEO Gina Fiandakia, we have Derek Cravat.
Yep, here.
From Mass DOT Highway Division, representing Jonathan Gulliver, we have Ann Sullivan.
Here.
From Leominster, Mark Piamarini.
Here.
From MRPC, Glenn Eaton.
I'm here, and I apologize, my camera is non-functional. I'm here. Thank you, Brian.
From Mart, George Kahale.
Present.
And I see from Subregion 2, Rosemary Meissner.
Here.
In Subregion 3, Tim Kilhart.
Here.
And that's all the signatories I see, and we have enough for a quorum.
Okay, all right, welcome everybody. Move on to our next item, which is public comments. Is there anyone present that would like to address the MPO? I see a hand, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Carolyn?
I'm Carolyn Sellers, and thank you for giving me the time to comment. I'm a very long time resident of this area and now living in Ashburnham. And I am, when I returned from vacation on July 12th, I had no plans to write 12 pages of comments on the regional transportation plan. Through the work I've been doing with the Health Equity Partnership of North Central Massachusetts to integrate climate justice into their work, and through my own lived experience, I couldn't let the opportunity to review and provide comments on the draft of this plan to pass by. I know from my own experience and development, it's important to have needs identified publicly as you seek funding to address those needs. And I know we need more funds to address these needs here in North Central Mass. Shortly after the partnership's Montachusett identified transportation as a key domino, I learned about a group working at the national level to share solutions and help advocate for more resources for rural resident mobility. I've learned a lot by participating on their call since April. And next Monday's call, I'll be learning about the Rural Roadmap and Toolkit Smart Growth America released at the end of July. I'll add a link to that roadmap in the chat. I am very concerned that our region does not have a robust vision for our future. More than 35 years ago, I got to know Marion Stoddard when I started working for the Nashua River Watershed Association. Marion always stressed the importance of first having a vision for what you want in the future. I've heard her tell the story of when they were setting water quality standards for the first time. She was wondering what to ask for, and the politician sitting next to her said to her, "Ask for what you want, otherwise you'll never get it." That's why today the Nashua was classified as fishable and swimmable. We need to do the same thing now for mobility in our region. We need to create a vision for who, what, and where we want and need to connect in our region and from our region beyond. I look forward to helping with this, and so we can better connect our communities with the care and the opportunities we all deserve. Thanks again for the opportunity to comment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about this or my comments at any time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn. Anyone want to respond to that? Brian, did you want to?
Yeah, I can respond. Hi, Carolyn. First off, thank you for your comment. We plan to go over that in the agenda as well. We're including the comment in its entirety in the appendix of the RTP. We appreciate all the feedback, and certainly your comment makes the plan a lot better. We've taken everything into consideration. I'll go over a little bit more in detail later, but we've had some additions due to your comment and others into the actual plan, which we hope to endorse today. So we thank you for that. Although we can't include absolutely everything, we look forward to continuing on to work in the future towards a future plan as well. So again, I think it's item 6 that we go over the RTP, and we'll go over some of the comments that we received in the comment period as well. So thank you again, Carolyn.
Right. Thank you. I did review the agenda items, and so I see what you're doing, and thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity to do this.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other public comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is the approval of the July 26th, 2023 meeting minutes. I'll ask for a motion and second to approve the July minutes as posted.
So moved. Ann Sullivan.
I second that, George Kahale.
Great, thank you. Motion having been made and seconded. Are there any comments, questions, or changes on the minutes? All right, seeing none, go ahead and call the roll. Brian?
Derek Cravat, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Marini, Leominster.
Yes.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahale, Mart.
Yes.
Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
And Tim Kelhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
All right, thanks everyone. Move on to our next item, which is update on the statewide long-range transportation plan. We don't have any real substantive update at this time, other than to say that a lot of the draft plan materials are kind of under review internally at MassDOT, and we are hoping to have more to share in the fall, and we'll be sure to share that with all of the MPOs and distribute that to our mailing list. If you're interested in signing up for plan updates, you can do so on the plan website, which Chris or anyone, if you want to just post that in the chat here, that would be great. But feel free to check that out, and we'll be sure to update the website and come to the MPOs when we have more to share. But for now, we're kind of just getting some materials reviewed. So with that, we'll move on to our next item, which is the Montachusett fiscal year 23 to 27 Transportation Improvement Program, Transit and Highway Tip Amendment 6. Turn it over to Brian.
George Snow is going to be
Or George.
presenting.
Okay, great. Go ahead, George.
George, you're on mute.
Sorry again. Amendment number 6 was presented to the MPO at the 7/26/23 MPO meeting. The need to amend the highway element is due to price increases for 2 projects. The first project is number 612-620. It is a bridge preservation project for the Route 2 bridge over the Nashua River, Tank Road, and the B&M Railroad in Harvard. The project has seen a cost increase from about 2.7 mil to about 3.7 mil for a net increase of 1 mil. Also, this project is being moved from Section 1B, earmark or discretionary grant funded projects, to Section 2A, state prioritized reliability projects, which does not impact our target funds. The second project is number 610-672. It is a resurfacing and sidewalk improvement safe routes to school project on Elm Street in Gardner. The project has seen a cost increase from about 1.25 mil to about 1.81 mil for a net increase of about $570,000. Also, this project is not expected to be ready. It needs to be moved out of FFY 2023 to FFY 2024. As both projects represent an increase of more than $500,000 for a program project under 5 mil, an amendment to the highway element is required. The need to amend the transit element is due to the award of 2 new projects that need to be added. Both projects fall under the 55310 program. GEMA will be the receiving agency for 2 vans. The GEMA project is number 011519. It is for the purchase of 2 E2B vans at a total cost of $222,000. The MOD project is number 011520 for the purchase of 4 E2B vans at a total cost of $444,000. The projects are additions to the TIP, have not been included in any previously approved STIP, thus they need to be vetted through the public process. Being new to the TIP process, they require an amendment to the current TIP. A motion was passed at the 7/26/23 MPO meeting to release the amendment for an abbreviated 14-day public review and comment period, so FHWA and FTA have time to approve the action before they close their books at the end of August. The review and comment period commenced on 8/1/23 and closed at the end of business on 8/14/23. No comments were received as of that date. At the 8/9/23 MJTC meeting, the MJTC passed a recommendation to the MPO that the amendment receive MPO endorsement. Today, the action we are seeking is a vote for the MPO to endorse the amendment. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, George. Any questions for George on either the highway or transit amendments? Right. Don't see any questions. So with that, I'll ask for a motion and a second to endorse, I guess, because these are both part of amendment number 6. So I guess the motion would be to endorse both the highway and transit changes as presented by George.
Yeah, I make a motion to endorse it as presented.
Okay, thank you, George. Is there a second?
I'll second. Ann Sullivan?
Okay, thank you. Motion having been made and seconded. Go ahead and call the roll, Brian.
Derek Cravat, representing Mass DOT Secretary Fiandaca.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahali, Mart.
Yes.
Rosemary Meissner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
And Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Move on to our next agenda item, which I believe is the federal fiscal year 2024 regional transportation plan. Turn it over to Brian.
Thanks, Derek. As many of you remember, last month we went over some initial comments that we received during the comment period of the RTP. At that point, we reviewed Mass DOT Office of Transportation Planning comments and MARC comments. However, at the meeting, and ultimately we're looking for an endorsement in July, but at the meeting it came to our attention that we had missed a few additional comments that came in. So we had 3 additional comments that came in the comment period. So we opted to put off the endorsement until we got a chance to respond to those comments and discuss them with the JTC and the MPO. So that's what we're here to do today. We'll discuss the comments and our responses, and ultimately we're looking for an endorsement. Also, we have 2 certifications that go along with the document as well. As I mentioned, the 3 additional comments that came in, they were very extensive. They all had some of the same themes. One of the comments came in a letter form from Groton Sustainability Commission. We also got a letter from the North Central Climate Change Coalition. And also, as we mentioned earlier, Carolyn Sellers sent the letter in. Carolyn is a private citizen. Thank you, Carolyn, for introducing yourself earlier. They were very, very detailed. They shared some of the same themes. We mailed those comments out with the mailing last week. We reviewed this with the JTC last week as well. Ultimately, they recommend to the MPO to endorse the RTP. That's something to keep in mind after we review our responses. 2 of the comments that we received were actually so similar that we opted to give our responses to both of them. So we condensed those comments and sort of highlighted some of the themes in the appendix that we'll talk about, and we responded accordingly. The 3rd comment, Carolyn Sellers, very extensive, about 12 pages long, and we opted to respond to that separately, although again it contained many of the same themes of the first 2 letters. So I won't go over the comments themselves extensively, but we've condensed these into some boxes for discussion here in our response. This is all going to be in an appendix of the RTP, along with a full version of the letters that we received from the 3 comments. They'll be also included in the appendix as well. So as I mentioned, we opted to do sort of a joint response to the Groton Sustainability Commission and the North Central Climate Change Coalition. What you see is on the left-hand columns here is the comments from the groups. I tried to sort of highlight some of the themes. I hope I did it justice. I think I did in our response accordingly in the right-hand column. The first sort of theme of comments from these first two letters had to do with goal number 7, which is to reduce greenhouse gas and promote environmental practice and sustainability. And specifically a performance measure that was identified under this goal, which was to increase alternative fuel vehicles and transit fleets by 2025. So basically the comments cited a lack of detail within this specific goal. And they state that the performance measure they believe is short-lived, it being ended in 2025. So they also go on to detail the need to further accomplish this goal by pushing some statewide and federal programs available. So our response, first off, we detail some of the work that we do in this area. We highlight some greenhouse gas analysis that we do in the TIP every year. Also, we mentioned we frequently promote some of the grants that come across our desk to our member communities through our meetings, the JTC, the MPO, and the commission meeting. We also provide this information on our website. We always are willing to assist a community that's looking to attain some money through these grants or programs. As it regards the performance measure, this actual performance measure is derived from Mark's capital program. So this existed before we incorporated it into our RTP. And I know it is short-lived, it ends in 2025, but it's important to keep these benchmark years in place because the point of the performance measure is to really come back in that benchmark year, in this case 2025, and determine if we met our performance measure. So if we come back in 2025 and say, yes, we did increase alternative fuel vehicles in the fleet, that means we hit our performance measure. And as these plans get updated in future years, I assume that there'll be new performance measure years to incorporate into them and keep on going forward like that. The second group of comments from these two groups says in part, in addition, providing information on grant writing support for incentives for EV chargers such as mass EVIP public access charging incentives and educational campus charging incentives would help achieve the goal of increasing the number of chargers throughout the region. And a similar comment from North Central Climate Change Coalition as well. And again, in a recurring theme here is a number of programs, state and federal, are mentioned in all three letters. And we stress in our response in this case that our role we see is to promote these existing programs. We offer assistance to grant writing. It's up to communities ultimately to engage us. We always make sure we try to promote the information and the programs available as much as we can. You know, these aren't necessarily all our programs. A lot of them are state and federally funded. So our goal is to promote improvements by promoting these programs and encouraging communities to pursue them. The third group here says in part, we urge MRPC to devote more attention in its planning to assisting member towns with catching up with or exceeding state averages for our alternative fuel vehicle adoption, thereby reducing overall transportation-related greenhouse gas. And again, we go into some of the work we normally do by promoting these programs. We say this includes notification of programs to assist communities with fleet vehicle conversion as well as supporting infrastructure. It's not in our purview, however, to lobby for the private purchase of EV vehicles. So we see our role as promoting these programs and assisting communities as much as possible and obtaining some funds for improvements. MRPC will maintain a review of data through the mass vehicle census. All three letters also mention the mass vehicle census. We actually had a presentation on this at the MPO last month. This is a new database that's become available in the last month or so. We didn't incorporate it into the original RTP. It was before the plan got put together, but we see it as important to incorporate it. So that's one change we will make from these three comments is we're incorporating some data from this mass vehicle census going forward. The fourth theme here, this is in relation to the analysis that we did the environment section. And just to summarize, all three letters again had some variation of this. There was actually, they cited a report by Mass DER that mentioned the need for improved culverts. In fact, it was determined that over half of culverts in the state were inadequate to stand up to increased flooding events. And in the environment chapter, we highlight bridges and roads and dams. And we've been doing that for years, highlighting structurally deficient facilities and the effects that increased flooding events will have on that. And this all relates to climate change, of course. We didn't include culverts simply because we don't have great data on culverts. There's great detailed state cultivated databases on bridges and roads and dams that we use that data and we try to develop trends over years. Culverts, unfortunately, they don't exist. We do see the importance of including that, so we will include that into the chapter, at least some narrative on the importance of culverts and the dire condition that many of them are in. In our official response, we go into some of the work that we've done in this area in the past. I think it was in 2017, we created a stormwater data collection app. So we made this available to communities and along with free training and free use of the app to go ahead and create inventories of culverts and drainage facilities and that type of thing. To date, very few communities made use of the app. Certainly, we're always willing to help communities in inventories and sort of getting a hold of what they have for infrastructure, and we'll continue to do that if there's interest. We encourage communities to use our app or through private consultants. Any improvement in the data will ultimately help make improvements in the infrastructure in the long run. The letters also mentioned the culvert replacement municipal assistance grant program. This is something that we presented, provided this information at our meetings and wherever we have public audience, and we offer our support and encouragement for communities to pursue these funds. Certainly, it's important going forward. So we'll continue to do that. We also added a lot of this culvert information to the chapter itself. Number 5 says, in part, transportation plan for the region must address mobility and transit solutions for all communities. The plan needs mobility strategies and performance measures related to providing alternatives to personal vehicles. And it goes on to say, in fact, all 3 letters mention the need for a rider demographic study. This all plays off of each other. So basically in our response, we mentioned the rider demographic study. This is something that doesn't exist yet. It's planned to be conducted by Transit Authority. It'll utilize its new fare system. We note that there's a large difference between pre-pandemic ridership and ridership now. And we look forward to getting some increased data and to do some good analysis in future plans. So we want to acknowledge that, and all 3 letters mention this ridership demographic study. Finally, our response to North Central Climate Change and GROD Sustainability Commission. One of the comments in part said, we strongly recommend that the RTP includes an examination of opportunities to address transit and mobility solution that cross regional planning agency boundaries. Joining communities are often in different RPAs. This complicates our ability to address regional solutions. Our response is basically we mentioned that we don't explicitly say detail our cooperation with other RPAs in the region statewide within the RTP, but we want to make note that it does exist. We regularly work with the Transit Authority. We know the Transit Authority regularly is in contact with other RTAs in the region. We have a regular meeting with other transportation officials from regional transit authorities and transportation agencies in the state that occurs every month. Mass DOT does a great job of facilitating some of the communication between the groups, and it's an open line of communication. So we just want to state that even though we don't explicitly say that we have solicited information from across regions, that this is something that occurs on a regular basis as part of the planning process. So we also provide some of the information that we've shared in the past on some of these state and federal programs. You may recognize many of these handouts. We go over these a lot of times at the end of MPO and JTC meetings. So we'll continue to make this information available and try to encourage communities to use the resources that are out there. Finally, the third comment that we'll review is from Carolyn Sellers. Again, very extensive comment. We'll include the whole thing in its entirety in the appendix. So that exists in print in the actual RTP. There's a lot of great information and it's very important. And certainly we appreciate the feedback. We feel like it makes it a better plan. And you know, regretfully, we're not able to make every change that is suggested, but we want to detail some of the stuff that we plan to add into the final version. And the comment range covers a range of topics from climate change, outreach, equity, trends, etc. It made reference to a variety of other plans and their findings, along with findings of other planning exercises in the region. And aside from general comments on the RTP itself, specific references to proposed changes were made in a number of different chapters within the RTP. So our response to that comment, and many of these comments play off each other. So some of the stuff we covered earlier in our responses goes for this comment as well. We go into our engagement process in our response here. We detail what we went through the last year. I think we started the RTP engagement process in the spring of 2022. We detail, for example, the development of our goals, objectives, strategy, and performance measures. I know the MPO is probably remembers a lot of the presentations we've had and the feedback we've sought on these. The JTC played a large part in this. We went over this for about 10 months. We felt like we got some great feedback during the process. It was extensive and it was long. We just wanted to highlight that. We add references to a number of different plans that Carolyn mentions in her letter. We want to make sure that we incorporate this into the plan, at least reference these into the plan. Although these aren't our programs per se, they're important to document within the RTP, and we plan to add this information in here as well. Finally, we highlight again our role in promoting and assisting different programs and what we see going in the future as well. So those are the three comments that we missed from the last meeting that we were waiting on. So we'd be happy to answer any questions on these comments. Other than that, all these will be incorporated into the appendix, and we'll be looking for an endorsement.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions from MPO members at this time? I'm not seeing any questions from anyone. Comments? All right. Well, thanks, Brian. Yeah, this is a helpful summary. I think goes a long way to address those comments, and nice to make it part of the plan. And certainly, having read through it as well, there is some information in there on things like EV charging station locations and areas that are kind of particularly vulnerable to climate change and to flooding. So, thanks for the summary of how this all got addressed. Yep.
Yeah, we wanted to stress that they're very high quality comments. They really are. I mean, and it just goes to show the different groups in the region that there's a wealth of information, and we do look forward to working together in the future on future plans and just activities in the region. So,
sure.
Thank you to all those who commented.
No, this is great. Yeah, these are agreed that these are great comments. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. So at this time, I'll ask for a motion and second to endorse the 2024 Regional Transportation.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Oh, okay. Yep, go ahead.
Yes, on this. It's MART, they just completed a visibility study for MART electrification conversion of their fleet. And that study is available. We can send it to MRPC and include it in the RTP.
That'd be great. Yeah, thank you, George.
Thanks, George. Yeah, send that over and we can easily document that and provide some analysis that might be in the feasibility study. So thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Is there a motion to endorse?
I make a motion to endorse
All right.
as presented.
Thank you, George. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. That was Glenn. So motion made by George, seconded by Glenn. Go ahead and call the roll, Brian.
Derek Cravat, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Lemonster.
Yes.
Guy Corbacero, Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Brian, I'll answer the guy or Glenn, and the vote is yes. Thank you, sir.
George Kahali, Mark.
Yes.
Rosemary Meissner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 additional certifications that go along with the RTP as well.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So we can take votes on those as well. Looks like this one is the first up is the 3C self-certification. So.
Okay, so I'll read the description on these, and we're looking for certification on these as well. The first one is the self-certification of the Montachusett Region 3C transportation planning process, and it reads, concurrent with the submittal of the proposed regional transportation plan to the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration, the Montachusett Region Metropolitan Planning Organization certifies that its conduct of the Metropolitan Transportation Planning process complies with all applicable requirements, which are listed below, and that this process includes activities to support the development and implementation of a regional long-range transportation plan, the air quality conformity determination, the transportation improvement program, and the unified planning work program.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Any questions on this certification? All right, seeing none, so I think what we'll do is take 2 votes, one on this one and then one for the next one on the GHG certification. So for now, I'll ask for a motion and second to approve this, the self-certification of the 3C planning process.
So moved. Ann Sullivan.
And is there a second?
Glenn Eaton, second.
All right, thank you. Motion having been made and seconded, go ahead and call the roll.
Derek Cravat, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Lemonster.
Yes.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Yes, sir.
George Kahali, Mark.
Abstain.
Rosemary Meissner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
Okay, we have 6 yeses and 1 abstention. That carries it. We cover quorum with that.
All right, thank you, everyone. Move on to the greenhouse gas self-certification. So.
Okay, I'll read the description of this as well. It states, this is the certification of the Montachusett Region MMPO Global Warming Solutions Act requirements for the transportation sector of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. And it states, this will certify that the air quality conformity determination for the 2024 long-range transportation plan for the Montachusett Metropolitan Planning Organization is in compliance with all applicable requirements in the state regulations, Global Warming Solutions Act requirements for the transportation sector in the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Great, thanks, Brian. Any questions on this one? All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion and second to approve this certification of the Global Warming Solutions Act requirements as it relates to the RTP.
I make a movement to approve this certification. George Kahali.
Great. Thanks, George.
I'll second. Ann
All right.
Sullivan.
Thank you. Motion having been made and seconded, go ahead and call the roll.
Derek Cravat, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Lemonster.
Yes.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC,
Yes, sir.
George Kahali, Mart,
Yes.
Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2,
Yes.
and Tim Kilhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
All right, thanks everyone. And thanks to staff for Regional Transportation Plan update and for the nice presentation on those comments. Appreciate that. All sounds good. So we'll move on to the next item, which is agenda item 7, the federal fiscal year 2023 Unified Planning Work Program. There's a budget adjustment here, so I think I'll turn over to Sherry.
Yes, that's for me. So we have a different handout than what was sent out, mostly because I think this one is a little bit easier to read. Basically, we are looking for an adjustment on our MassDOT contract number 118963. We're trying to adjust the amount for the approved direct costs from 41,658. We would like to increase it by 64,842, making the total 106,500. And the reason for that is the 3 items listed on the handout. One being a new pavement management software. We've had the same one for a long time and have been in dire need of a new one. And we finally found one that seems to make sense for what we're doing. The second is we'd like to hire an engineering consultant to assist with 3 different intersection studies that we have for this current UPWP. And then also we have increased number of traffic counts that we would like to add to our existing list for our consultant that we have currently, which would provide over 50 traffic counts for a freight study that we're working on. And you can see the tasks that would be affected by the change, although the budgets do not change whatsoever. It's just the direct cost amount because of the large cost items that we'd like to incorporate for this year. So the remaining balances are well under what we would need anyway. It's just changing the allocation of the amount of money that we would be spending it on. So we just need a vote, I believe, to make the adjustment so that we can move forward with those tasks. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Thanks, Sherry. Any questions for Sherry? Just so I understand it, so those amounts there, 22,000, 45,000, 9,500.
Those should add up to that 64,842. Oh, they actually don't. Okay, so I think it has to do with the anticipated additional direct costs. I think it's because of what's remaining.
Okay.
So that middle column where it says anticipated additional direct cost is what Brad had put together for the increase.
Okay.
Yeah, we ended up with surplus of direct costs in our original plan, and the 64 is the additional funding we'd like to add into it from other tasks to be able to cover these purchases.
Okay, but some of that, so if you take that, I think it was like closer to 70,000 something, like some of that might already be budgeted for, is that right?
We still had an additional amount remaining. So I think that would cover the additional.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I understand it. All right, any other questions? All right, not seeing any. So I believe the vote then is it's considered a kind of reallocation or adjustment, right? So we can take a vote to endorse that. I'll ask for a motion and second to kind of endorse these changes as presented.
I make a motion to approve it as presented.
I'll second, Ann Sullivan.
All right, thank you. Motion having been made and seconded, go ahead and call the roll.
Derek Cravat, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Mark Piamarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Glenn Eaton, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahali, Mart.
Yes.
Rosemary Meisner, Subregion 2.
Yes.
Tim Tillhart, Subregion 3.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Move on to our next item, which is updates. We'll start with the Highway Division. I'll start with District 3. Is this you, Ann? Or Sarah?
No, it's me.
Okay.
Okay. Westminster, project 607432, Westminster rehabilitation and box widening on Route 140 from Patricia Road to Crookston Town Line. This is at PSNE. The ad date is 8/19/23. This is was the subject of a tip amendment in our last that was approved at our last meeting. Gardner roundabout construction at Elm Street, Pearl Street, Central Street, and Green Street, project 609279. That was advertised in May, on May 6th, awarded to E.H. Perkins, and the NTP was issued July 6th. Harvard Bridge Preservation, Route 2 over Nashville River, Tank Road, Boston and Maine Railroads, project number 612620, that is at PSNE, and the ad date is September 9th. That's the one that is the amendment we just voted on. Fitchburg Route 2 resurfacing and related work, 610731. That was advertised in February, awarded to J.H. Lynch, and the NTP was issued in March. Ashby, Greenville Road, Route 31 and Turnpike Road, 609314. This was actually advertised last fiscal year. And the NTP was issued to ETNL in October. Gardner, Elm Street resurfacing and sidewalk improvements. This is the Safe Routes to School project, number 610672. This is again the subject of our amendment today. This is being pushed off to FY24. It is at PSNE, but the right-of-way, the city isn't able to complete the right-of-way acquisition in time for this fiscal year. That's all I have.
Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Ann? All right. Seeing none, can do a District 2 update. Daryl?
Yep, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Daryl in District 2. So first, we'll start off with FY24 project 608723, Athol intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Ave. The design is at 100%. 100% review comments were completed on March 1st. Right away resubmission 3 was due on the 14th. We're just awaiting an update on that. And the PSNE is due February 16th, 2024. Next, we have project 612151 in FY25. This is the Athol Bridge replacement, Route 2A, Main Street over B&M Railroad. Design is at pre-25. Alternatives analysis and draft design justification worksheet were received on July 24th, and the comments are due on the 24th of this month. 25% design is due February 11th, 2024. Next, we have in 26, we have project 608424. This is the Templeton reconstruction of Route 68 from King Philip Trail, Route 202 north to the Phillipston Town Line. The design is at 75%. Right away is awaiting 100% submission. The 100% design submission is due December 30th, 2023. And that's all I have for now.
Great. Thanks, Daryl. Any questions for Daryl? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next update, which is from Transit. George, got anything here?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any new update at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Sounds good. Move on to the Joint Transportation Committee update. Brian?
I can give an update for this. So the JTC met last Wednesday. We discussed the RTP comments and the TIP amendment. The next meeting, September 13th, 2:30 p.m. virtually. And we plan on discussing some potential amendments to the MJTC bylaws at that meeting. Additionally, there's some handouts. The first is from the Massachusetts Department of, the MassDOT Safe Routes to School program. It's an announcement of the launch of the Signs and Lines program and the infrastructure grant program. It's happening at the same time. Both application periods will open Wednesday, August 23rd, and one informational webinar is available on the same day on August 23rd at 12 noon. So the information is available on this handout. The next handout we have is from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, Mass DEP. This is announcing a new funding program. The VW and refuse truck electric solicitation grant announced by Mass DOT. Basically, this is through the VW settlement funds. Mass DOT is allocating a certain amount of money to replace municipal waste servicing refuse trucks with more efficient options. So it's a competitive solicitation and has an application deadline of 5 p.m. on September 26th. And there's a number of eligible projects in the handout. This handout's also on our website as well. So if you'd like additional information, you can go to our website for this. And finally, a handout we've received from Federal Highway Administration. This is just a number of planning updates. A number of the new grant programs and some training options are highlighted here for the month of August and September. So again, this is available on our website. And that is all I have.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Any questions for Brian? All right, seeing none. Last update is from the MRPC. Glenn?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I put in the chat function, the chat window, that we still have jobs that we're advertising for the Planning and Development Department. If you know of anybody, please share the link accordingly. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Glenn. Any questions for Glenn? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to next item, which is administrative matters. Is there any other business that folks have to come before the MPO? Seeing none, there is something listed there for next MPO meeting. So,
Yep.
Believe that's scheduled for September. Yep.
Yep. So the next scheduled meeting, September 20th at 1 p.m., our regularly scheduled meeting. In the past, what we've done this time of year, we've skipped. We've gone every other month. If there's nothing to come before the board that needs endorsement, if there's no tip amendments or anything like that, typically we've skipped, gone every other month. So we're just seeing if members wish to take that schedule and do that this year and skip September and meet back in October, or if there's an appetite to meet next month, even though as of right now, there's no pressing issues.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I think we'll be in touch if anything comes up, but a lot of MPOs do end up canceling in September because, yeah, sometimes there's no action items, but certainly if folks do have anything they'd like to be considered for an agenda, just reach out and, we'll discuss that.
Right, and we'll make sure we reach out to members if there is something, if we decide to skip September and come back in October. If there's a need to meet in September, we'll make sure we'll reach out.
Great. All right. Sounds good. Well, not
so
seeing,
is there,
go ahead. Yep.
Should we get some sort of a consensus from the group to skip September, or should we just schedule the next one for October?
I would say skip September, and if you need it, then call a meeting. If not, then we'll see everybody in October.
Okay. Yeah, seeing some heads nodding and thumbs up, so I think sounds
okay.
Like
so we'll schedule the next one tentatively October 18th at 1 p.m. virtually, and if there's a pressing need, we'll contact everybody before September.
Great. Sounds good. All right, thanks everyone. We'll move on to our next item, which is just adjournment. I usually just do this through a voice vote. So is there a motion and second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you.
All right. Without objection, we're adjourned. So thanks everyone, and let you know about September, but likely see you back here in October. So have a great rest of the summer. Bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.